Good afternoon. It's Monday, August 3, the first Monday of August. I'm Mai Rodriguez for your Midday Report. We'll be giving you the stories shaping the nation at this hour. In the headlines, a COA official testifies before the Senate Impeachment Court on Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged misuse of confidential funds. Labor Secretary Francis Tolentino faces workers' groups protesting the suspension of the wage hike in the NCR. U.S. President Donald Trump calls off planned strikes against Iran as long as a deal is immediately reached. And Spider-Man Brand New Day makes a blockbuster debut worldwide. The House prosecution presents an official from the Commission on Audit to strengthen its case that Vice President Sara Duterte misused millions of pesos in confidential funds. Let's check what's happening on day 11 of the impeachment trial. Hannah T joins us live from the Senate. Hannah, ano ang highlights so far doon sa testimony nitong COA official?
Only Vice President Sara Duterte had confidential funds among vice presidents audited by the Commission on Audit official now testifying before the Senate Impeachment Court. State Auditor and Attorney Roderick Wamil, who previously handled post-audits of confidential and intelligence funds, told the court that former Vice Presidents Jejomar Binay and Leni Robredo had no appropriation for confidential funds during his audit period, leaving Duterte as the only VP he audited for such funds. Under Joint Circular 2015-01, confidential funds may only be used for expenses directly related to the purchase of information needed for programs, activities, and projects relevant to national security and peace and order. He stressed that the rules require strict compliance because they involve the use of public funds. He also cited the same circular as expressly prohibiting the use of confidential funds for salaries, wages, overtime pay, allowances, representation, or entertainment purposes, as well as the construction or acquisition of buildings or housing structures. The witness further testified that only the Department of Education under Duterte received confidential funds, with the OVP receiving about 500 million from the fourth quarter of 2022 to the third quarter of 2023, while DepEd received about 112.5 million in 2023. Mai Wamil is the first witness to testify on the allegations against the VP on the misuse of confidential funds on the day 11 of the impeachment trial of VP Sara. Mai?
Hana, pasok ba doon sa dinidiscuss ngayon yung sinasabi dati na may about 125 million pesos na natanggap ang OVP at noong 2022 ginamit sa loob lang ng 11 days o 11 araw?
Pero in fairness po yun naman.
Yes, Mike, katunayan yan yung sentro nung naging discussion bago nagkaroon ng break itong proceedings sa impeachment trial, at lumabas doon sa mga testimonya ng State Auditor at COA official na si Wamil na merong discrepancies doon sa disbursement voucher na pinirmahan ng bise, dahil sa dapat ay itong sinabi mo nga na 11 days spent ay supposedly should be spent for about 3 months, pero lumabas doon sa pag-audit ng COA na nagamit nga ito for 11 days. Take note, Marian, yung sinasabi na 125 million pesos daw na ginamit ng OVP. Mai?
Hana, at alam ko rin dati nabalita din that the COA ordered VP Sara to return 73 million pesos in the OVP's 2022 confidential funds na nauna nang sinabi ng COA na this was improperly used. Nabusisi na ba kung ano ang nangyari dito sa 73 million?
Under question yan, hindi namin tinatanggap yan.
May sa ngayon doon sa nangyayaring trial, hindi pa napapag-usapan yung specifics kung ano nangyari doon sa about 70 million nga na nabanggit mo. Pero tama ka dyan, una na ring sinabi ng COA na the office actually failed to submit enough documents to prove that the expenses complied with doon sa nabanggit ko na joint memorandum circular nga kung saan hinihiyag or hinahayag or dinedetalye doon yung dapat na paggamit ng intelligence and confidential funds. Yan yung aabangan natin pagbalik ng proceedings ngayong hapon. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you, Hannah T. Live from the Senate. Some senator judges did not make it to the roll call this morning for the 11th day of the impeachment trial. May live report si Dexter Ganibe mula sa Senado. Dexter, ilan lang ang umabot sa roll call kanina umaga?
May 16 lang na mga senator judges ang tumugon sa isinagawang roll call sa pagsisimula ng Day 11 ng impeachment trial kanina. Eksaktong alas 10 ng umaga nagbukas ang pang-11 araw na impeachment trial ngayong Lunes. Hindi kasi sumang-ayon ang mayorya ng mga senator judges na gawing 10:30 ng umaga ang umpisa ng trial hanggang 3:30 p.m. sana. Ang naunang kahilingan ay para sana magkaroon daw ng sapat na oras ang ilan sa mga senator judges na hindi makagising ng maaga. Kaya kanina sa roll call, 16 lang sa 21 na mga available na senators ang present, 5 ang hindi umabot. Pagkatapos na ng roll call, saka dumating sina Senators Bongo, Mark Villar, Kiko Pangilinan at Alan Peter Cayetano. Sa pinakahuling ulat naman na nakuha natin mula sa Clerk of Court na si Atty. Renato Bantog, hanggang kaninang pasado alas 11 ng umaga ay wala pa itong si Senator Loren Legarda. Wala pa namang inilalabas na pahayag kung bakit late na masyado itong si Senator Loren na naka-attend o na dito sa impeachment trial. Samantala, matapos ang higit 40 minutes na recess kanina, aabot sa 845 na mga dokumento para sa acknowledgement receipts ng Office of the Vice President at DepEd para sa petsang December 21 to 31, 2022 ang na-stipulate o hindi pumayag ang defense na i-stipulate ito para doon sa isasagawang direct examination sa kanilang witness nitong prosekusyon na si Wamil. Paliwanag ni Attorney Michael Powa ng defense panel, kahit ito ay mga dokumento o exhibits na meron silang tinatawag na common, kahit yung 845 ay mga common exhibits o mga documentary evidence ng defense at prosecution, hiwalay itong pinamarkahan ng depensa dahil umano may ilang issue sa nasabing mga acknowledgement receipts na siyang tatalakayin naman ng mga testigo ng defense sa oras na kapag sila naman ang magpepresenta ng kanilang mga testigo at mga ebidensya. Sa umagang ito, hindi nagpa-unlock ng anumang interview ang defense panel. At inaasahan naman natin, pagkatapos ng paglilitis mamayang hapon, ay magbibigay ng kanilang updates ang defense panel. Mai?
Pero tama ba, Dexter, ang may magkocross ang depensa dito sa mga COA officials na ipipresenta this week ng prosecution? Ano? Hindi katulad nung last week doon sa land bank officials, di ba? Hindi sila nag-cross-examine.
Kanina sa pagsisimula ng direct examination, nag-manifest sa open court itong si Attorney Michael Wesley Powa ng defense panel na magsasagawa siya ng cross-examination. Pero magdidepende pa rin yan dun sa magiging testigo nitong si Wamil kung meron nga bang kailangang i-cross ang depensa o kung wala naman ay hahayaan na lang din nila.
Okay, maraming salamat, Dexter Ganibe live mula sa Senado. House Prosecution and Akbayan Party List Representative Chel Jokno points out there is no law that currently governs the use of confidential funds. On BNC's memo, Jokno adds that the Commission on Audit issued notices of disallowances on the portions of the OVP's allocations. He emphasized the need for a law that would define which agencies are eligible to receive confidential funds.
Kasi right now, wala naman tayong Republic Act o batas na nag-govern pagdating sa confidential funds. Ang meron tayo ay joint circular lang ng Commission on Audit at mga ibang ahensya ng Executive Department. At sa tingin namin, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng batas para maging mas malinaw kung unang-una, anong mga ahensya ang pwedeng gumamit ng confidential funds, sino yung mga pwedeng bigyan. At pangalawa, ano yung kinakailangan pag nililiquidate nila yan so that there will no longer be any issues.
The Senate Impeachment Court set aside longer days to tackle Article 1 of Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged misuse of confidential funds. May live report si Isaiah Mirafuentes mula sa Senado. Isaiah, gaano daw katagal ito?
May kasisimula lamang ulit ng paglilitis sa impeachment court matapos nga magkaroon ng almost an hour recess kanina. At hanggang sa mga oras nga na ito, may nakaharap pa rin ang ikatlong testigo ng prosekusyon para sa misuse of confidential funds na si Roderick Wamel. At ayon Mai mismo sa prosekusyon, ngayong linggo raw, makikita o malalaman ng taong bayan kung paano nagkamali si VP Sara sa paggamit ng kanyang confidential funds. Sunod-sunod na kahon na may nakasulat na confidential funds ang bitbit ng prosekusyon sa ika-11 araw ng impeachment trial laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Nagdalaman umuna ito ng mga ilalatag nilang ebidensya laban kay VP Sara. Ayon sa prosekusyon, tinatayang aabot sa 4,000 acknowledgement receipts ang posibleng ilatag ng prosekusyon sa paglilitis para sa confidential funds. Sa lahat ng articles of impeachment, ang Article 1 o ang kaugnay sa misuse of confidential funds ang may pinakamaraming trial dates na aabutin ng 31 days o katumbas ng 10 linggo. May ang sumalang sa panig ng prosekusyon ay si Private Prosecutor Attorney Lorna Capunan na siyang nagsasagawa ng direct examination para sa kanilang testigo na ihaharap ngayong araw. May doon kaugnay sa tanong kung gaano ito magtatagal. May posibilidad na magtagal ito dahil nga yung mga acknowledgement receipts na ilalatag ng prosekusyon ay hindi dito nag-stipulate ang defense team. So ayon mismo sa House Prosecution Panel, gagawin nila ang kanilang makakaya para mapabilis ang paglalatag ng kanilang mga ebidensya. Mai.
Isaiah, bakit ito daw ang pinakamahaba sa mga articles of impeachment? At posible pa nga ba na mapabilis ang proceedings?
May ang paliwanag sa atin mismo ng prosekusyon dahil nga itong confidential funds, ito yung isa sa ito yung may pinakamaraming mga dokumento na kailangan nilang ilatag. Ayon mismo kay House Prosecutor Representative Joel Chua, aabot sa halos 4,000 acknowledgement receipts yung kailangan makita, kailangan matingnan kung nagamit ba talaga sa tama itong confidential funds na inilagay para sa Office of the Vice President and even sa DepEd. So kung libo-libo ito yung sinasabi nila, matagal-tagal na pagsusuri ang kailangan ibigay dito. Pero nangako naman ang House Prosecution Panel na gagawin nila ang makakaya nila para siguro, sabi nila, baka by groups nila gawin yung pagsusuri sa mga resibong ito. Mai.
Maraming salamat, Isaiah Mirafuentes, live mula sa Senado. Senator Rodante Marcoleta refused to enter a plea before the Sandigan Bayan over his alleged violation of a presidential decree prohibiting officials from receiving favors from private individuals. Nasa linya si John Riz Calata para sa detalye. John Riz, ano nangyari?
May nagpasok ng not guilty plea ang Sandigan Bayan First Division para kay Senador Rodante Marcoleta matapos niyang tumangging magpasok ng plea dahil sa nakabinbing petisyon sa Korte Suprema. Kaugnay ito ng paglabag umano ng senador sa presidential decree na nagbabawal sa mga opisyal ng gobyerno na tumanggap ng kahit anong regalo mula sa mga pribadong individual. Bagamat hindi tinukoy ng legal counsel ni Marcoleta na si Attorney Moises Tolentino Jr. ang partikular na petisyon na inihain ng kanilang kampo, pero kaugnayan niya ito ng kanilang paghamon sa resolusyon ng Office of the Ombudsman na nag-aakusa kina Marcoleta at 3 iba pa sa kasong plunder at paglabag sa Presidential Decree No. 46. Una nang naghain ng motion to quash ang senador sa Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division para sa kasong plunder, ngunit binawi ito para mapabilis ang pag-usad ng kaso. Samantala, nagpasok ng not guilty plea ang kapwa-akusado ni Marcoleta na si Aristotle Viray sa Sandigan Bayan 1st Division kaugnay ng paglabag sa PD 46. Itinakda ang preliminary conference sa kasong PD 46 ni Marcoleta at Viray sa Sandigan Bayan 1st Division sa August 11 hanggang 12 habang sa September 7 ang pre-trial. Mai?
John Riz, 3 ang counts ng kasong paglabag sa PD 46 ni Marcoleta. Nabasahan na ba siya ng sakdal sa lahat ng ito?
May tama ka na na-arraign na si Marcoleta sa lahat ng kanyang kasong paglabag sa PD 46. Sa lahat ng ito ay nagpasok siya ng not guilty plea maliban nga dito sa First Division dahil nga sa kanyang petisyon na nakabinbin sa Supreme Court. Bukod dito, nabasahan na rin siya ng sakdal sa kasong plunder kung saan nagpasok din siya ng not guilty plea. Mai?
Maraming salamat, John Riz Calata, nag-uulat. Former Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza claims Senator Loren Legarda offered him a 10 million peso fund in exchange for supporting the solar franchise of her son, Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste. On BNC's Agenda Weekend, Atienza alleged the offer was made while Legarda was serving as chairperson of the Senate Committee on Appropriations. Atienza earlier questioned the financial capacity of Leviste's solar energy firm and alleged that Legarda played a key role in lobbying for the franchise. The plunder and graft complaints against Legarda and Leviste over the alleged 10 billion peso ghost solar projects are now under preliminary investigation.
Sabi niya, alam mo Lito, chairman ako ng Committee on Appropriations sa Senado. I can help you with the 10 million peso fund. Basta pumayag ka lang, tutulungan mo ang anak ko. Sabi ko, Senadora, kung yan ang iyong paksa, ay marami akong ginagawa na mas mahalaga sa opisina ko. Thank you for a cup of coffee. Goodbye.
Okay.
Sabi nung nag-areglo ng meeting namin, pambihira ka naman, Senadora Sinabi ko sa'yo, huwag mo aalokin si Congressman. Ibang klaseng tao yan.
Hindi na ho naulit yung usapang yon.
Hindi na.
Okay.
Atienza also said he is ready to testify before the Ombudsman regarding the allegations. Bilyonaryo News Channel is seeking a comment from Senator Loren Legarda. Malacanang pushes back on claims of executive interference and selective justice as it addresses controversies involving the Ombudsman, high-profile complaints, and other political issues. Ivy Reyes joins us live from Malacanang for the details. Ivy, go ahead.
Yes, Mai, Malacanang responds to questions surrounding the Office of the Ombudsman and recent complaints filed against Senator Loren Legarda and son, Congressman or Batangas Solon Leandro Leviste, and presidential cousin and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. The palace stands that the president and the executive did not have any hand in any of these cases, as the president and the ombudsman have different mandates. Mai, the camp of Romualdez questioned the ombudsman and its inclusion of some of the testimonies of the 18 Maleta boys or former bodyguards of ex-Congressman Zaldico, saying the testimonies are polluted and have earlier been discredited by both the Office of the Ombudsman and the Justice Department. We clarified where the palace stands on this issue because just last June, Malacanang said the account of the Maleta boys or basureros, as they call it, or as they call them, are, quote, butas-butas, walang pinanggalingan at walang basehan. As opposed to the Ombudsman, who's now in hot seat for using the Maleta boys' statements, Malacanang said they still hold the opinion that the 18 men's affidavits and witness accounts hold no water. Now, since former Senator Bong Revilla has been allowed to post bail for his malversation charges in the flood control mess, the palace shut questions down that Revilla's temporary liberty may be interpreted as selective justice because Revilla is referred to as President Marcos's ally. According to Malacanang, if the president had any hand in letting Revilla go temporarily due to their alliance, then Revilla would have never been behind bars in the first place. Meanwhile, Malacanang slammed the honey trap plot to pin Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, which was reported by the NBI to have allegedly been financed by Congressman Leandro Leviste. The palace said this is not the first time the camp of the Duterte allies pulled off some intriguing issues and that they call on legitimate media institutions to stand their ground and go above fake news. Still on the Duterte's by, Malacanang-backed Defense Chief Gabo Teodoro's call for officials sympathizing with Beijing to consider resigning and slammed Congressman Pulong Duterte's statement that the DND is painting China as evil. The palace said they see nothing wrong with Teodoro's statement in that Congressman Pulong's stand looks very alarming for an official of the land to appear with a fragmented sense of loyalty to the country. Lastly, on the suspended wage hike in the capital or the National Capital Region, the Office of the Solicitor General is ready to defend the state's case and argue the pushing of the salary increase, but there's no guarantee as of yet if the wage hike would be implemented once the TRO will be lifted on August 13. Mai.
Thank you, Ivy Reyes, joining us live from Malacanang. Up next, Labor Secretary Francis Tolentino faces workers' groups protesting the suspension of the wage hike in the NCR. The details and more stories after the break. Stay tuned to Midday Report. Labor groups are holding protests before the Pasig Regional Trial Court following the suspension of the 85 peso increase in the daily minimum wage. Nasa linya si Charmaine Abong para sa detalye. Charmaine, ano ang latest?
May nagkilos protesta nga abot sa higit 11 grupo ng manggagawa sa tapat ng Pasig Regional Trial Court para tutulan ang desisyon ng korte na pigilan ang pansamantalang pagpapatupad ng 85 pesos na dagdag sa minimum wage sa Metro Manila. Kasabay nito naghain din ng motion for intervention ang grupo na pinangunahan ng Sanlakas Labor Coalition. Ayon naman kay Kamanggagawa Party List Representative Elison Fernando, labag ito sa Article 126 ng Labor Code dahil bawal umano sa mga korte ang humarang sa proseso at desisyon ng National Wages and Productivity Commission at Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Boards. Mali rin umano ang venue na pinili ng mga kumpanyang kumakwestiyon sa wage order.
Na may paglabag doon sa implementasyon ng RA 6727 na nagtatakda ng wage setting mechanism natin kasi kailangan maintindihan yung proseso ng pagtatakda ng sahod dumadaan sa mga hearing at konsultasyon yan. Not even one consultation nagkita yung R2 builders sa Karedicot. So may employer sector doon eh. So well represented yung manggagawa at mga employers. At pinagmamalaki nga ng ECOP, first time daw in history na nag-dissent sila sa wage order. So bakit ngayon pinagbigyan ng korte yung hiling nila na temporary restraining order kung in the first place merong proseso? Sang-ayon din dun sa Article 123 at ito yung talagang dinidiin namin. If yung agreed parties merong question sa wage order na nilabas, they have 10 days to challenge it upon the publication of wage order. So hindi dito sa korte.
Status quo order. Ipinunto ng grupo na sa halip na sundin ang itinakdang proseso, direktang naghain ng petisyon sa Pasig RTC, ang Redicon Trading and Construction Corporation at R2 Builders Incorporated na nagresulta sa paglabas ng RTO. Kabilang sa panawagan ng grupo ang hiling sa DOLE at Office of the Solicitor General na ipagtanggol ang legalidad ng 85 pesos na dagdag sahod. Iginit ng grupo na ang dagdag sahod ay karapatan ng mga manggagawa at hindi dapat mapigil ng isang status quo order na ayon sa kanila ay labag mismo sa batas. Sa ngayon, inaabangan pa ang resulta ng nagpapatuloy na pagdinig hinggil sa petisyon dito sa Pasig RTC. Balik sa Mai.
Maraming salamat, Charmaine Abong, nag-uulat. Labor Secretary Francis Tolentino faced workers groups today who are protesting an order from the Pasig RTC suspending the implementation of the 85 peso wage hike for workers in the National Capital Region. Nasa linya si Chil Emprido para sa detalye. Chil, ano nangyari?
Yes, Mai, sa kabila nga ng manakanakang pag-ambon, sumugod ilang labor groups sa tanggapan ng Department of Labor and Employment Central Office sa Intramuros, Maynila ngayong Lunes. Ngayon ng protesta na tutulan ng direktiba ng court na nagsuspende sa pagpapatupad ng 85 pesos na dagdag sahod para sa mga manggagawa sa pribadong sektor sa Metro Manila. Ayon sa grupo, lubos silang nadidismaya sa anlay pagharang sa wage increase na matagal nang hinihiling ng mga manggagawa sa gitna ng patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga pangunahing.
Alright, babalikan natin si Chil Emprido para sa ulat na yan. Meanwhile, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board is tackling the fare hike petition of transport groups amid the volatility in fuel prices. The group Manibela is warning they'll go on strike again if the agency fails to approve its petition. Micah Razon is reporting live from Quezon City. Micah, what's the latest?
May ahead of the hearing of the proposed fare hike, different transport groups stage a protest outside the LTFRB.
Yung pisong aming hinihiling, nawa naman po ay inyong pagbigyan. Yung mga ayuda, yung mga binibigay ninyo sa ngayon na fuel discount, lubos po namin itong ipinagpapasalamat. Subalit, yung fuel discount po ay hindi po ito ramdam ng pangkalahatan.
They said that they are urging the government to approve the fare hike, stressing that their current income is no longer enough to keep with the continuous rise in the cost of living. The groups also accuse the Department of Energy of favoring oil companies over commuters and transport workers.
Ang langis ay deregulated, pero ang pamasahe natin regulated. Na kung saan hindi tayo pwedeng magtaas kagyat ng pamasahe kapag alam natin na pinapatay na tayo at sinasakal na tayo. Walang magawa ang Department of Energy. Nagmimistula silang spokesperson at abogado. Tama po ba? Tagapagtanggol sila ng mga oil companies at hindi tagapagtanggol ng taong bayan.
Joining today's protest were the non-consolidated groups Piston and Manibela, along with the consolidated cooperatives representing modern and traditional jeepneys, as well as UB Express operators. Mai Balbuena also warned that if their petition won't be or will be denied, they will stage another transport strike next week. Back to you, Mai.
May pahayag na ba ang LTFRB tungkol dito sa banta ng Manibela?
May sabi ni LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza kanina, ginagalang nila ang karapatan ng Manibela na magtigil pasada. At kung mangyayari man na magtigil pasada sila, ay handa naman ang Department of Transportation na magkasa ng libreng sakay para sa mga commuters. Tuad lang din, May, same time, sabi din ni Vigor, nagrekomenda sila ng 20 pesos fuel subsidy para sa mga PUBs, pero for approval pa ito. At sa taas pasahe naman ay patuloy pa sila na nagko-collect ng data kung magkano ba talaga ang dapat na i-propose nila sa palasyo. Mai?
Maraming salamat, Mai Corazon, live from Quezon City. Former Energy Secretary and incumbent Leyte Governor Jericho Petilla says systems loss should be capped at 3% and included in distribution costs. This comes after President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. called for the removal of systems loss charges passed on to consumers.
Kasi sinasabi natin 8.5% maximum. So naglalaro ka minsan 7 ka, minsan 8, minsan 6. Why don't we just say
3%?
Gumawa tayo ng study, 3% ilagay natin, okay? At wag na nating tawagin na systems loss yan. Cost. Ilagay mo na yan sa distribution cost mo. I-tuck-in mo na yan. Wala na yan. Pag efficient ka at 2% lang talaga systems loss mo, kumikita ka. Pero pag banu ka, you bear the cost.
Petilla also said the controversial Pax Sinica project can proceed provided it generates its own power. He adds that an energy-hungry AI hub needs its own power grid to operate. Let's get the latest on Tropical Depression Luis, which has dumped rains over large parts of Luzon over the weekend. On the line is BNC resident meteorologist Benison Estareja. He's joining us via Zoom. Benison, go ahead.
Ms. Mai, we have an update regarding Tropical Depression Luis. It was estimated as of 10 in the morning at 165 kilometers east of Etsaga, Isabela. It has maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour near the center, gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour, and is moving northward at 15 kilometers per hour. So within the next 24 hours, mananatili lamang pong malapit dito sa may area ng Cagayan Valley and Aurora itong si Tropical Depression Luis. So we're seeing na yung mga areas pa rin, kagaya po ng Central and Eastern Cagayan na magkakaroon ng signal number 1. Gayun din po dito sa may Isabela, Quirino, Eastern and Southern portions of Apayao. Makikita rin sa may Eastern portion of Kalinga, Eastern portion of Mountain Province, Eastern portion of Ifugao, and the Northern portion of Aurora. Whereas yung mga pag-ulan nga natin na naranasan dito sa malaking bahagi po ng Luzon for the last weekend, may experience pa rin po natin yan in the coming days. And within the next 24 hours, meron po tayong tsansa ng mga higit sa 200 millimeters na rainfall dito sa may lalawigan po ng Pangasinan. And we're expecting some 100-200 millimeters of rainfall naman over La Union, Zambales, Tarlac, and Bataan. So itong mga nabanggit natin ng mga province, ito yung posible po mag-cause ng mga malawakang pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa given po na magkakaroon ng madalas nga ng mga pag-ulan. At yung mga nearby provinces pa, that includes yung natitirang bahagi ng Central Luzon, yung southern part po ng Northern Luzon, down to Metro Manila, Cavite, and Batangas within 24 hours, 50 to 100 millimeters po yung mga asahang pag-ulan. So nandiyan din yung chance ng mga flash floods and landslides.
Benison, paki-explain nga itong movement ni TD Luis. May paliko na mangyayari, tama ba, na hindi siya magla-landfall dito?
Yes, if we're looking at the latest track po nitong si Tropical Depression Luis, nagkaroon ng parang complexity, kung saan nga ba siya pupunta. Parang nagmi-meander or mananatili lamang siya somewhere dito sa may east of Isabela within the next 24 hours. At malaking factor po dyan, yung magiging interaction niya with another typhoon na malayo po na nasa labas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility na si Typhoon Dolphin. At posible po simula bukas, magkakaroon sila ng parang bahagyang hatakan, even though malayo nga po sila sa isa't isa. And at the same time, hihina na by tomorrow itong si Bagyong Luis and possibly pagsapit po ng Wednesday maging LPA na naman.
Okay, so magkakaroon ng interaction somehow with Typhoon Dolphin. If I remember, si Dolphin naging super typhoon nito nung Friday yata, napakalakas nito. Magkakaroon ng interaction pero hindi naman sila tatama dito sa Pilipinas.
Yes, if we're talking of Dolphin, hindi naman po natin nakikita na tatama ito sa ating kalupaan. At yung naging trend nga niya, coming from a super typhoon category na umabot nga ng 190 to 200 kilometers per hour in the past few days, yung nagiging trend niya is parang unti-unti siyang humihina. So sa ngayon po, nasa 155 kilometers per hour yung taglay nito na lakas. Yung distansya niya from our landmass, 2,705 kilometers, east-northeast of Batanes. Pero hindi natin i-rule out na by the middle or the end of this week ay ito ay papasok din po ng ating PAR at dataplis lamang po doon sa may northern part ng ating area of responsibility.
Alright. Maraming salamat, BNC resident meteorologist Benison Estareja for that weather update. Coming up, tragedy in Indonesia as a fire on a passenger ferry leaves 5 dead and dozens missing. More news around the world, plus the latest in sports after the break. U.S. President Donald Trump calls off planned strikes on Iran as long as a deal is reached quickly. Trump says Iran and other Middle Eastern countries asked him to pause military action while talks continue. The statement came after reports that the U.S. and Israel were considering new attacks on Iran. But Iran denied asking the U.S. to stop any military action and called Trump's claims false. The U.S. immigration crackdown is growing, and Filipino advocates in Georgia are working together to protect their communities. Our U.S. correspondent Len Thornhill has the story.
Immigration enforcement continues to intensify under the Trump administration. According to the latest ICE data, the agency has carried out more than 356,000 deportations since October 1st, 2025. That averages about 1,260 deportations every day. Nearly 66,000 immigrants are currently in ICE detention. 6 in 10 of those detained have criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. In June alone, more than 43,000 people were taken into ICE custody, the highest monthly total so far this fiscal year. And according to the Department of Homeland Security, July's numbers could be even higher. But Filipino immigrant advocates in Georgia say the impact is not limited to undocumented immigrants.
There was a case, I met a Filipino man, his name is Sonny Lasque, and he was detained at Stewart Detention Center, but he was actually from Nevada, and so he was coming back in from vacation out of the country. He came in through North Carolina, and ICE ended up detaining him, even though he was a green card holder, and he was sent to Stewart Detention Center. So even for Filipinos who, are not in Georgia, I think that because of the infrastructure that our state has, it is a holding place for a lot of our people.
Georgia is home to one of the largest ICE detention facilities in the United States. Because of that, some Filipinos arrested in other states are transferred to Georgia while they await their immigration proceedings. Advocates say that has also increased fear among members of the Filipino community.
We heard so many of our kababayan just being like, we're scared to go outside. We're scared that we're going to be next.
In response, more Filipino organizations are holding Know Your Rights seminars for immigrants. The sessions also explain what immigrants should and should not do during encounters with ICE, including the right to remain silent and the right to speak with a lawyer.
There definitely has been an increase in ICE presence that I have seen. Like I had mentioned, Marietta, this was just last week, ICE was out there, but also out in Athens. I heard about ICE being on the ground in rural areas as well, in Columbus and Albany, in the past couple of weeks.
Filipino organizations in Georgia say they will continue monitoring developments in immigration enforcement while helping members of the community who may be affected by the Trump administration's tougher immigration policies. Len Amadin Thornhill, Bilyonaryo News Channel, Atlanta, Georgia.
2 people were killed in a mid-air collision of 2 helicopters fighting wildfires in Greece. One chopper crashed in flames after hitting the other, which made an emergency landing. The accident happened near Athens as crews were responding to a large wildfire. The victims were a Danish pilot and a Greek fire service liaison officer. The wildfires have destroyed homes and threatened communities and farms with strong winds, making it harder for crews to control the blaze. Thousands of caregivers are asking Canada to reopen its caregiver pilot program, which the Immigration Ministry suspended in a bid to clear the backlog in applications. But because of this suspension, caregivers who hope to apply for permanent residence are forced to explore other pathways to citizenship. Let's hear more from our Canada correspondent, Rowena Papasin.
Mila Febuton endured abuse from her first employer when she came to Canada in 2018. Luckily, she found a more compassionate employer, and after working there for a few years, she completed the requirements to apply for permanent residency. She was ready to file her application under the Home Care Worker Immigration Pilots when it opened in March 2025. But within hours of its opening, the portal crashed.
Hindi nakapasok yung application namin, and then after that, I do the paper-based, an option. I received an email coming from IRCC and they give me what do you call this? A packet for paper base. But it's so sad.
The Committee on Domestic Workers and Caregivers' Rights said that of the estimated 40,000 caregivers who applied when the pilot opened last year, only 5,500 applications were accepted. They thought they would just wait another year for the home care worker pilot program to reopen and accept new applications. But the rules changed again.
After all the frantic preparations, putting together the required documents, paying for all the requirements that needed paying, we were shut out of the system. I also tried the paper-based application, but despite stress, confusion, and money spent, immigration said the pilots were closed. I felt deeply devastated.
The status of thousands of caregivers who are already in Canada remains at risk after the country's caregiver program was paused until March 2030. Despite complying with all the requirements, they fear that their Canadian dream continues to be out of reach. Buton is disappointed because she still does not have a clear pathway to PR. One option is for her to switch from childcare to elderly care. Another is to move to another province. But in both cases, she would first need to find a new employer who is willing to apply for an LMIA, and this can be costly.
Sana mabigyan ng tawag dito ng pagkakataon yung mga temporary worker na nandito na makapag-apply ng tawag dito permanent resident, or mas maigi na tawag dito hindi na kailangan ng LMIA if expire na ang working permit, if it is possible na mag-apply ng extension for work permit.
They were able to bring their concerns to BC Premier David Eby, who promised to advocate for them before the federal government.
We're talking with the federal government about these things. We think that a clear pathway to citizenship for temporary foreign workers, as well as the ability to move between employers, is very important to avoid exploitation. We have essential workers all across the province that are needed, and they live under this threat constantly of not being able to stay in Canada.
Buton also called on the federal government to treat caregivers and other temporary foreign workers with fairness, even as she vowed to fight for their right to stay in Canada.
Nandito na kami. Bakit kailangan naming umuwi? We are here. Yeah, we came here to serve, and then we came here, we pay taxes. So sana naman magkaroon din ng kumbaga tawag dito. Bigyan nila ng pagkakataon yung mga temporary worker na magiging PR. Kasi pumunta sila dito, nadala ang pangarap. So, eto, nakabitin.
Rowena Papasin, Bilyonaryo News Channel, Vancouver.
At least 5 people were killed and 41 are still missing after a ferry caught fire off Indonesia's Madura Island. Data from the country's search and rescue agency showed the ferry was carrying 271 passengers and crew, 225 of whom have been rescued. Search and rescue operations are underway. The ferry was heading from Surabaya in East Java to Makassar City in South Sulawesi. Authorities say it's still unclear how the ferry caught fire. Sudden thunderstorms have caused the suspension of the women's singles final between top seed Jessica Pegula and Filipina tennis ace Alex Ayala at the Mubadala DC Open. Pegula won the first set 6-4 and was leading 2-1 in the second set when play was stopped. The match will resume on Tuesday at midnight Manila time. Ayala is seeking her first WTA title after reaching her second career final. She reached the final after defeating top players, including former world number 1 Naomi Osaka and defending champion Leylah Fernandez. A hard-fought win for Rain or Shine was overshadowed by controversy. Head coach Yeng Giao has called on the PBA to review an incident involving Meralco veteran Cliff Hodge, whom he described as the dirtiest player in the league. Let's find out more from Zeus Valdez.
Rain or shine head coach Xiang Yao did not hold back following the Elasto Painters' 85-83 victory over Meralco, expressing concern over an incident that left Adrian Nocum hurt late in the third quarter. Yao said the collision involving Meralco forward Cliff Hodge was another example of what he believes is a pattern of dangerous play.
Medyo kinabahan kami dun sa nangyari kay Adrian. Again, it's Cliff Hodge. Dami ng ganong insidente ni Cliff Hodge.
The veteran mentor then delivered his strongest criticism, saying Hodge's reputation has been built over years of similar incidents.
He's the dirtiest player in the league, I think, and dapat siguro tingnan ng liga yan. He's a danger to the other players in the game. So, his record speaks for itself.
Despite the post-game controversy, Yao also turned his attention to his team's performance, admitting it was far from their best offensive showing of the conference. Rain or shine missed 14 free throws and struggled to find its rhythm for much of the night, but made up for it with a defensive effort that held Meralco to just 36% shooting from the field.
Ito siguro isa sa mga pinakamasakang laro namin, but we found ways in the end game to carve out a win.
The victory extended Rain or Shine's winning streak to 4 games, while Yao said he hopes the league will review the incident as part of its efforts to ensure player safety. Zeus Valdez, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Spider-Man Brand New Day swings into theaters with a massive $927 million worldwide opening. It includes $355 million from North America, the second biggest domestic debut of all time. The film has also earned glowing reviews with a 90% critic score and a 98% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Its blockbuster debut gives another major boost to this year's already strong summer box office. Ariana Grande is stepping away from the spotlight after wrapping up her Eternal Sunshine tour next month. Her team says she will take a break from public appearances following years of intense public scrutiny. The pop star's physical appearance and health have also been the subject of speculation, particularly after Friday's release of the music video for Petal, in which fans expressed concern over how thin she was. Ariana has also withdrawn from the 2027 London revival of Sunday in the Park with George, where she was set to star alongside her Wicked co-star, British actor Jonathan Bailey. The production confirmed the musical will go ahead without her, though her replacement has yet to be announced. Before their voices hit the big screen, the stars of Forgotten Island are landing on the August cover of Vogue Philippines. It features Liza Soberano in a special edition themed Untold Stories, The Roots That Lead Us Home. The film marks DreamWorks Animation's first feature centered on Filipino folklore and culture. And that's not all, as more photos and interviews are said to be on the way, featuring Lea Salonga, Dolly De Leon, Bini, Nathan David, and the creative team behind the film. And speaking of Filipino talent that's taking the global stage, renowned Filipino fashion designer Puy Quinones unveils his latest collection in Los Angeles. We get a look from our U.S. correspondent, Jessica Rodriguez.
From Hollywood celebrities to fashion editors, some of the biggest names gathered to witness the latest collection of internationally renowned Filipino fashion designer Puy Quinones in Los Angeles. Titled The Permutation of Puy Quinones, the collection draws from his childhood, his grandmother, his Filipino roots, and the vibrant colors, textures, and the spirit of the Ati-Atihan Festival.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the signature Bilyonaryo infinity dress.
My hope is that I get to design a dress with Fue for the next Oscars. That's what I'm hoping. That'd be great. So I want to see what I could do to, adjust for my body, for my curves. I know he draws a lot from his upbringing and his background in the Philippines and his Filipino identity, but he does it in a way that is, he translates it in a way that is really timeless. He's just able to understand like the woman's body.
But behind the stunning designs was a much deeper story.
Why permutation? Because I see that the word permutation reflects to myself and to my work. Because I've been to many changes, transformation, reinvention from work to myself. For me, changes and transformation and evolution is a survival. I think this is the most personal collection I've ever created in my whole career.
After years of designing for the market, Quinones says this collection marks a return to his true self, shaped by his Filipino roots, his life challenges, and the ability to overcome them.
This is more than what I dreamed out. This kind of audience from international press, from Vogue to New York Times, LA Times, all the big publications that were here. Thank you, Bilyonaryo, for taking the time to come here and interview me. And I don't know if I should say this, but you are the only Filipino press that's here today.
As he continues to shine in this new chapter of his life, Quinones hopes his story reminds others that every setback can become the start of something beautiful.
I always believe in the saying that, ruin is the gift, and ruin is the road to transformation. We have to be destroyed for us to be able to transform and rebuild ourselves.
For Poy Quinones, fashion is more than couture. It's a canvas for healing, heritage, and hope. I'm Jessica Rodriguez.
Before we go, we have this just in. ABS-CBN Corporation of the Lopez family denies a report that Manuel V. Pangilinan or MediaQuest Holdings are in talks to take over management of the broadcast network. The corporation, however, stopped short of addressing a separate claim that an investor group led by Ramon Ang is preparing a 3.5 billion peso rescue package. While ABS-CBN rejected the reported management arrangement involving MVP, it did not specifically deny the reported 3.5 billion investment, the proposed 39% economic interest, or whether negotiations with Ang's investor group are ongoing. The company also disputed another claim in the report, saying Lopez Inc. has invested less than 1 billion in ABS-CBN since 2020, contrary to Bilyonaryo's report that more than 10 billion had been infused into the broadcast network over the period. And that's a Midday Report. I'm Mai Rodriguez. I'll see you again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Stay informed and stay safe.